turn off the TV and go clean your room. Right? Because when you say those words to your kid, get off the couch and turn off the TV and go clean your room, you're not waiting for them to blossom, you're waiting for them to obey. Right? There's no nurturing involved in that moment. You don't need to wait and see if they're gifted in the art of cleaning their room. Right? You don't actually care if they're passionate about it. You want them to go do what it is that they have been told to do. God is waiting not on our blossoming into greatness. He is waiting on our obedience. He has told us to get off the couch and turn off the TV and go do something, and He is waiting on us to do it. This is not about whether you're an evangelist or not. If you're a believer, you've been called to share your faith. And the entire culmination of history and God's plan is waiting on our obedience for us to get up and go do it. Take your finger. All right, everybody say, look up. Okay, now point around. Everybody say, look around. Okay, so we're going to look up, now we're going to look around. All right? Look up, then look around. When you look around, here's what you find. That the world is calling out for our obedience. The world is calling out for our obedience. When you look up, heaven is waiting on our obedience. But when you look around at the world, what you find out is that the world, that the people all around us are actually calling out for you and I to be obedient to the command to share the gospel with them. Acts chapter 16, verses 9 and 10 says this, and a vision appeared to Paul in the night. A man of Macedonia was standing there, urging him and saying, come over to Macedonia and help us. And when Paul had seen the vision, immediately we sought to go on into Macedonia, concluding that God had called us to preach the gospel to them. Here Paul is, before this it says actually that the Spirit of God had blocked him from going into certain places. And he says in the middle of the night he has this dream vision of a man from Macedonia coming, saying, come and proclaim the gospel to us. Come and tell us this. I've actually experienced this in my own life. Doing ministry in Bangladesh at one point, and we were doing ministry where we go down the boat on this river and kind of go off in these places where there are no roads into villages that are off the river. And one of our teams, they were met by somebody who came to the river waiting for them and said, I actually had a dream of someone who told me to come find you at the river so that you could tell me about them. You understand that? Jesus appeared to them in a dream. Muslim people in Bangladesh, Jesus appeared to them in a dream and told them, go to the river because someone's going to come and tell you about me. Now, that happens, but for most of us, that's not how it's going to occur. For most of us, people aren't going to come and say, hey, God told me to come and for you to tell me about Him. Now, some of you may have experienced a different form of this, where somebody comes to you and they say, there's something different about you. What is it? If you're really living your life centered in the Spirit of God and you have a joy and you have a peace when other people are in chaos and other people are unhappy, there may be people who come to you and say, what is it? What's different about you? I've had that happen. Maybe some of you have as well. For most of us in most situations, that's not the case either. But all around you are people who are calling out for you to be obedient to the call. And here's what it looks like. It looks like depression. It looks like grasping for answers. Let me tell you what it looks like. 2019 statistics. This is pre-pandemic. Don't blame this on COVID. This is just the way we are. Suicide was the 10th leading cause of death in the U.S. in 2019. It gets worse. Ages 10 to 34, young people in the U.S., second leading cause of death, suicide. Those are people screaming, crying out for something that they can't find. Those are people crying out and calling out, looking for help. and not finding it because they don't know the answer. They don't know that we have what it is they're looking for. They're calling out for something that they don't even know what it is. Many of you know that I've been struggling with an eye issue since the beginning of the year, and only recently have kind of, gotten back to where I can function. And when I went to the doctor, two things that I didn't know when I went there. One was what the actual problem was, and the second was what he could actually do to fix it. And so I show up and I'm just talking about the symptoms. I don't know, I can't see things anymore. How about that? I just can't see things anymore. It's all blurry. The doctor looks at it, does all his tests, and says, here's what the actual problem is. You don't even know what the problem is. Let me tell you what the problem is. And